So the first question is this. So whenever you read assumption based question, as we have discussed, you need to figure out a premise, an argument using which the author in the short passage is trying to come up to a conclusion. What you'll realize is that there is something that's missing. That's basically the assumption, not explicitly written, but it needs to be there. It needs to be considered to be true, so that these two together will make it a valid conclusion, right? That is the meaning of an assumption. Assumption is something that's not explicitly written, not written in the passage, right? But without that, you can always counter argue that this premise is not alone sufficient to come to this conclusion. So you can always counter argue. So to complete that argument, you need to put up this assumption. That's the thought process that we need to keep. So when we read, try to figure out what is the conclusion, and then try to read out what is the argument or the premise behind it, and then see what is the gap that's there so that you can fill that assumption. So let's read this. New medical studies indicate that if the average employee improves his physical health, then his productivity also increases markedly. So that's something about, average employee improves his physical health, productivity also increases markedly, right? So that's the, some sort of a statement, a factual statement according to the author has been made. Company XYZ should therefore introduce mandatory exercise programs every morning in order to augment productivity. So these are the keywords for us, therefore, hence, so, right, which means that author is trying to make some conclusion. What is the conclusion? The author is making that XYZ, right, should introduce mandatory exercise. Why? Every morning to augment is increase productivity. Right? That's what the author felt. The conclusion that he's giving is that, hey, hence the XYZ should implement the mandatory exercise programs in the morning to improve the productivity. What is the argument that the author made for it? The premise that the studies says that, studies say physical health, if improves, right? If the average employee improves physical health, then productivity also increases. That is what the studies, that's the argument, the premise the author has made. So to come from this, physical health improvement is important to get the better productivity, and hence to get a better productivity or to see better productivity, they should implement mandatory exercise. There's something that's missing. What is that? Physical health and mandatory exercise, the link that is missing between them. Yes, physical health improves productivity. That's the argument the author made. And the suggestion he is making, or the conclusion he is drawing, is that mandatory exercises needs to be put, or exercises needs to be added so that they'll improve the productivity. What does that mean? That is, the mandatory exercises will lead to improved physical health. That is the assumption that we had, right? So understand this. So the author is concluding that mandatory exercises will improve the physical health, and that's the argument he made, that improved physical health means improved productivity. That's why we will see improved productivity. We will see some gap here, right? So from the premise and conclusion, that is what the assumption is. Just notice this again, that the premise is only connecting the physical health and the productivity. And the conclusion, the author is not saying that hence the company should try to improve the physical health of the employees to improve productivity. In that case, everything is clear. But that's not how the conclusion is. The conclusion is saying that hence the company should introduce mandatory exercises to improve the productivity. So what is the link between the mandatory exercises and the physical health? That is, assume that mandatory exercise will improve the physical health. Hence, we also know physical health improvement means productivity improvement. That's why the conclusion is complete. So now we need to look for that option. The author assumes which of the following to be true. The mandatory exercise programs will be successful in improving the physical health of the employees. Perfect. This is the one which I was talking, right? So the mandatory exercises will be successful in improving the physical health of the employees. That is assumed, otherwise the logic will not be complete. Let's look at other options also to see if there are anything better than this or maybe close to this. Employees who take exercise programs at work are no more productive than the employees who take exercise programs outside the work. So this is like actually countering the conclusion. Hey, anyways, doesn't matter. People are now no more productive than the ones who are taking outside. So it's no point to do these exercises. In a way, that you are like actually demotivating this conclusion. Employees who exercise sleep better than the employees who do not do so. This has nothing to do with sleep. Is not discussed anywhere about. It's more about the productivity, right? You have to understand what the conclusion is. So this is nothing to talk about sleep. So no option. Employees who exercise at work often complain of tiredness throughout the day. And if you ask me, this is actually countering it. It's weakening the argument. Say, hey, if this is true, it's like basically saying don't implement the exercise part because that is going to affect the people in the negative way because they get tired. So it's like actually you are demotivating. Then, so this is also wrong. Employees often resist mandatory exercise program, viewing them as intrusions on their privacy and their labor rights. Again, this is also like reason giving, which says that this conclusion cannot be implemented, or rather this idea cannot be implemented. These are not assumptions. These are all, actually weakening or rather negative, countering the suggestions that are given. So this one is the perfect answer. So that's option A. So before you look at the options, make sure you try to understand the premise, conclusion, and then try to think of your own assumption, right? Just a sense of it. Then you can easily figure out the options much easier than getting confused between a couple of options. Now let's jump into this. If you have not tried the way that we have discussed, just pass it, think over the conclusion and then the premise, and then try to look at the gap that's there, and let's try to see what the assumption could be. Hope you've tried, right? Let's read this. Enrollment in computer training programs tends to be higher in a strong economy and much lower during the weak economic times. So this is something like an observation that the author is making. How individuals view the likelihood of future job availability, therefore, affects people's willingness to pass up the immediate, sentence seems to be something off, pass up their current employment opportunities. This should not be there. So basically, therefore, affects people's willingness to pass up their employment opportunities, current employment opportunities, in order to invest in career-related training. So what the author is saying is that he is coming to a conclusion. How individuals see the likelihood of future job availability, right? What are the chances of me getting a job in the near future if I want to shift something? That perception, how individuals view, how they see it, therefore affects their willingness, right, to leave their current opportunities and invest in career-related training. Let's say if I am feeling that in this current situation the economic or the jobs of getting jobs are low, right? If the chance of getting jobs are low, the job availability is less, I would not take that risk of leaving the current employment opportunity and invest in some new skills so that I get a better job. If I have a positive feeling, then I might take that risk to leave the current employment opportunity and then invest in myself in the career related training. That is what this conclusion is, right? The conclusion is that the people's, how they see, right, a view on future jobs affects the willingness, whether you will take that risk of leaving the current opportunity and invest in training or not. What is the premise made here is that the computer program enrollments are generally seen high in strong economy and low in the weak, right? High enrollment in strong economy, low enrollment in the weak economy. Okay, so if we try to understand, he's saying that in the strong economy people enroll a lot, and the weak economy the people enroll low. And then he's saying that that's because people's view on the future job availability affects the willingness to pass up their current employment opportunities and invest in the career related. What would be the assumption for me here is that link between the economy and the view of people, right? How they see. The point is this. So basically, we are assuming that in the strong economy, people view the jobs are easy to get. The view on future job is positive. And in the weak economy, people will see this as view on future jobs is negative. Right, that is a link that we need to connect. Why? Because you see the enrollment in the programs according to the argument is linked with the economy. Strong economy, high enrollment, weak economy, low enrollment. The conclusion in the passage author is trying to say is that people's perception or view on the future jobs, right? Whether I can get a job or not will decide whether they will enroll in the program or not, because they will invest in the career related training, or maybe they just stick to the current job without taking a risk. How is this linked? That is what you need to understand. So the one argument is saying the strong economy, people will try to enroll high or low. Then the other side says that not on the basis of economy. The line is not saying how in a strong economy the strength of economy therefore affects people willingness. That's not what the point is making. The point is making how individual views the likelihood of future job availability would therefore affect the willingness. That means there's a link on the view on future jobs and the economy that is missing in the entire passage. We need to assume, or it is assumed that strong economy will give you a positive view on the future jobs. That's obvious, right? That's sort of how we generally feel also. But yeah, the weak economy gives a vibe that it's not good time to get a job, or maybe it's not easy to get a job. So you'll have a negative mindset towards it. So now let's try to see link between the economy and the job view for the people, right? Those who enroll in computer training schools during a strong economy help increase the economy strength. Absolutely irrelevant in this context. Not going to help me to reach this conclusion. Computer training programs admit fewer students during recessions. It's not the computer training programs admit. They don't take less number of people. The passage is rather saying that people join less. Okay. There is also anyways countering actually against what is given as an argument here. So it's like not even in line with it. And moreover, if something is mentioned in the passage, keep in mind it can't be the assumption. It's already talked about, so it won't you won't take it as an assumption. Perceptions of the likelihood of job availability are related to state of economy. Yes, this seems to be the option, right? As I said, the link between the economy and the view. So perception is how you see it, how you feel about it. So perceptions of the likelihood of job availability are related to state of economy. You believe that it's good time, or you see that there's a good chance of getting jobs in a strong economy. That's why you will go ahead and do the training. If it's a weak economy, you will believe that the job opportunities are less, and that's why you might not be willing to take up new courses. That's what the entire passage is about. I'm very happy with this option. Let's look at the others. The perceived likelihood of job availability has decreased in the recent years. So like how would that let me do this conclusion that people will show willingness or not towards the training? Again, not helping me to come to the conclusion. See, it should add value to get to the conclusion. All those who avoid computer training school during economic slump do so because of perceived lack of future jobs. So this is something trap, I would say, because all those who avoid during economic slump do so because of perceived lack of. This is what the passage already said. So it's like the people enroll less in the weak, what do you call it? In the weak economy. Slump is like a drop, dip. So low point. So that means like people avoid, that's what the first said, right? Enrollment will be less in this economic times because of perceived lack of jobs. So that's what this part is talking about. In a way, this is not a very bad option, but then this is like summary of what we have discussed. This entire thing. But that's not the assumption that's filling up these gaps. This is the assumption that the perception, because they're not talking about the strong economy case here, right? It's only talking about economic slump, only half of the argument, and it's more like half the summary of this entire thing. Okay, what about economic, when you see a rise, a good period, so then people will take a lot of training and all. So anyways, this one is more like a summary of this, half the summary, not even the complete summary, than being the assumption. As I said, assumption should be something that's not talked here, and you are able to fill that logic gap. So that's option C is the answer for this. Let's try this. Hope you passed and attempted again. The sales of jogging shoes have tripled over the last 1 year in Panora city. So they are talking about the sales of jogging shoes. Thus, so this again, this is the first argument that they mean premise argument. Now, thus, it can be safely concluded that, so the conclusion is, the citizens of Panora city have started giving a lot of importance to physical fitness activities such as jogging. So the conclusion that they have drawn is that the citizens of city have given importance to physical activities like jogging. Physical fitness activities such as jogging. Okay, what is the premise, or what is the argument that led to the conclusion? That is, the sales of jogging shoes have tripled. So for me, the assumption should be connecting these two, as I said, right? Sales of jogging shoes and the interest towards the fitness activities such as jogging. How is it linked? It is because they're saying that jogging shoes are being sold more, so people are obviously using it for the physical fitness activities. But I need to make sure the assumption is that the people are using the jogging shoes for jogging and physical activities. The link between the jogging shoes, so the conclusion is that not that they are using more jogging shoes, the conclusion is that they are giving more importance to physical fitness activities. The physical fitness activities conclusion is drawn because they are buying more of the jogging shoes, sales jogging shoes. Say jogging shoes of sales have gone up. So you should be able to link these two. What is that? That people are using the shoes for jogging, not for something else. Okay, the sales of jogging shoes in other cities has not gone up at the same rate as it has in Panora city. So this one comparing the other city is nothing to do with my assumption in this conclusion, right? Okay, what if they're buying more or less? I don't care. I mean, it's not going to help me in getting this conclusion. So absolutely, this is not really helping us. In the last 1 year, several gymnasiums and sports centers have set up shop in Panora. Maybe true. So that could be helping us in terms of conclusion that people are showing more interest and a lot of gyms and sports centers have come up and all of that. But still, that's not part of this entire story in terms of assumption. This could be some additional. Look, you have to make sure that it is adding the value to the premise and conclusion, right? Not that just new random point that is just showing some interest towards physical activities. Again, jogging is a physical fitness activity. This one looks a bit, for me, a bit of okay option. But the problem, as I said, make sure that assumption should not be there in the passage already given. Jogging, physical fitness activities already given. Physical fitness activities such as jogging. So this basically rules me out this. In a way, people might feel, okay, people are buying jogging, but is it fitness activity? How can you connect it? But it's already given clearly that physical fitness activities such as jogging. If that was not given, at least that's not a bad option to look at. But because it's already mentioned, I would not select that. The jogging shoes that have been sold are actually being used for jogging and not for other purposes. See, I might buy jogging shoes and might use it for, let's say, I don't know, what do you do? To hit someone, let's say. Just I'm meaning. So there's a new sport trend that has popped up in city that people can throw shows at random people and all. I'm just kidding, but I'm just saying. So some random events can also lead to people buying more jogging shoes, but they're not actually using it. Maybe that's a new trend to use it for parties and all. Maybe some theme parties. Who knows? So just keeping that in mind. So jogging shoes that are being sold are actually being used. That's the connection that's missing, right? Jogging is related to the physical fitness activity. That is, people are using these shoes for physical fitness activities and not for other purposes. This looks like a decent one. As a physical fitness activity, jogging is more beneficial than walking. Again, no comparison on why walking is better or not. This won't complete the conclusion. Understand, it's an irrelevant statement to make. So that's option D is the answer for this.